So Anthem has now been officially out for over a month, and as all of you know, things have been quite rocky over this last month. There have been quite a few technical issues, one of which resulted in numerous users reporting having their consoles hard crashing, which led many of them to believe their consoles had been bricked by Anthem, although later it was found out there was a way to reset the consoles, but it was just a process that the average user was not aware of. But anyway, that issue dominated headlines for a few days. The more recent mess was regarding a variety of issues connected to loot in Anthem. Many have been upset or kinda disappointed since launch with how bland weapons and armor is in the game, something that BioWare recently somewhat addressed and defended. BioWare's lead system designer Chris Schmidt claimed in a now deleted statement that it was a design choice they made, and he pretty much downplayed the importance of weapons in a third-person looter shooter while going on to claim they invested heavily in suit personalization, which still doesn't exactly add up as armor in the game has been extremely limited and is being drip-fed. But the particular issue with loot, which was being discussed heavily earlier this month, was the drop rates, something that on two different occasions resulted in a bug which simply made Anthem a more enjoyable and rewarding game, with drop rates accidentally giving players better loot than they were supposed to get. Both times this bug popped up, it was fixed within hours, which the second time it caused a boycott in which fans protested BioWare's decision to not properly address the issue now. Eventually though, BioWare's hand was forced and a hotfix was implemented, increasing the loot drop rates. There have been other issues like default weapons performing better than the best ones in the game, and players doing math to find out that loot in Anthem is kinda pointless. But this game has just been consistently hit by quote-unquote mistakes since day one. Besides the issues mentioned before, there are many who have been upset with the lack of post-launch or endgame content, with the first real content not arriving until May with Cataclysms. On the game's 90-day roadmap, there is the mention of quote-unquote new free play events, but players are now realizing some of these events simply are just larger amounts of certain enemies like outlaws. Anyway, I've been saying it for weeks, Anthem was rushed to release and needed more development time, something that Electronic Arts should have gave them. 1 month after launch, it still feels like Anthem is an unfinished early access game, which hasn't exactly garnered positive impressions from both fans and critics, as evidenced by the very mediocre to negative reviews on Metacritic and OpenCritic. Now fortunately, just days ago, BioWare General Manager Casey Hudson did address the rough launch in a blog. He would state, "Phew, how's everyone doing out there? It's been a wild ride these last few weeks. On the one hand, it's been a rougher launch than expected, but then as I think back, we also knew that big new online games tend to hit some kind of problem once they go live. So as much as we tested and prepared to make sure everything was ready, we were also ready for the possibility that unexpected issues might arise at launch, and we continue to be committed to responding to them. We launched a game that so many of you are telling us is really fun at its core, but we also had a degree of issues that did not reveal themselves until we were operating at the scale of millions of players. We were of course very disappointed about that, as were many of you. I've been in there playing with you since those early days, and it makes me sad to hear about any issues that would hold someone back from fully enjoying the game. I take that very personally, and it's been our top priority to get improvements out to you in the fastest, safest way." He would go on to next discuss the improvements that they've been making, how they appreciate those sticking with the game, and some of the very big content that they have planned in the next few months like Cataclysms. But to close out this blog, he says, "But we understand there is skepticism out there. We hear the criticisms and doubts, but we'll keep going anyway, working hard every day on Anthem, an ever-changing world constantly improving and growing, and supported well into the future by our team of passionate developers. With Anthem, we're trying something a little different than we've done before, and likewise our upcoming games will be different from Anthem. But with everything we do, we focus on staying true to our mission, creating worlds that inspire you to become the hero of your own story. So what's most important to us is you, the player who have supported us in this journey, and we're excited to prove that with Anthem, the best is yet to come." Which I certainly hope so. And I mean, it's nice to see Casey address the rough launch, but a lot of these mistakes and issues could have been solved by not rushing the game out the door, and using the excuse that most big new online games suffer similar problems really is not an excuse that should be made, because this is actually a problem in gaming right now where publishers and likely executives feel they can release an unfinished game and fix it later. It's something that many casual players don't understand is a problem. Selling a $60 game should be polished and ready now, not in a few years. years. When you hear a lot of average players discuss Anthem and the criticism it has received, they write it off as just hate for Electronic Arts and nothing more, when in reality there are real issues that are being ignored because flying like Iron Man or the gameplay is fun. This is something that games like Call of Duty and FIFA Ultimate Team have leached off of for years. Now, I'm not saying at its core Anthem is not an enjoyable game, because it is, but there are a lot of reasons to criticize and complain right now. Like, another thing we discussed is all the missing features and content presented at E3 2017 and E3 2018 that are not in the release game. Players continue to talk about this stuff daily, and BioWare's reaction pretty much has been, things change, it's the cost of transparency, whatever that means. But another big issue that has emerged is regarding a new feature being implemented soon, called Elysian Chests or caches, which are essentially new loot containers that can be unlocked once you finish a stronghold. They've been said to include various vanity store related cosmetic items like emotes and vinyls. BioWare has said that there would be no duplicates and there would be around 100 different items to obtain when the chests first launch. BioWare pretty much said they wanted to add cosmetic loot that could be obtained by just playing the game and not necessarily by coin or shards. Now, many people were excited about this feature because they were misled to believe that these chests would include armor pieces, something that is lacking in Anthem. As we discussed the other day, there are very little different types of armor packs or pieces in the game, with I believe there only being 3 or 4 types at launch. So far these last few weeks there have been new armor packs being rotated in the vanity shop every few days, but many were under the assumption that these Elysian chests would include all kinds of different armor pieces. So I know a lot of you may be wondering, how did BioWare mislead players? Well, let's start with this live stream that came right around the game's official launch, in which Anthem lead producer Ben Irving makes it seem that armor pieces or packs would be included in these Elysian chests.
Ben, to the other question, when are we going to see some more armor? Maybe you want to go on that.
So we have an update a little later in the stream about how we're introducing some new vanity into the game. So I want to talk about that. We did do a store refresh just today, and then we have some more vanity stuff coming through a gameplay mechanic, and we'll talk about that a little later in the stream.
So as you could hear, someone asked the BioWare team where's the armor within Anthem, and BioWare's Ben Irving directly connects it to the Stronghold Vanity store, saying wait until later in the live stream where we discuss this brand new gameplay mechanic. And let's actually move to later in this live stream where he discusses this gameplay mechanic, which is now known as the Elysian Chests.
But the first is talking about Stronghold Vanity Chests. So what does that mean? So kind of to set up the context, there's been some feedback of, hey, like I want to personalize my javelins a bit more, but I'd like to have, some part of my look that's available through kind of playing the game or doing something in the game that maybe not everyone can do. And so the idea that we're going to put into the game is called Stronghold Vanity Chests. So the idea is that we'll have like 100 items that are vanity driven or personalization, as we often talk about them.
Let me also state that there were 3 other BioWare developers or employees there that did not offer any correction, so obviously something changed or this simply was a lie. BioWare's silence is a bit of a problem on a subject like this. For weeks, many assumed vanity items in the chests meant all vanity store items, not just emotes, vinyls, or graphics. Additionally, when Ben says there's been feedback asking for more suit personalization, most of that feedback is in regards to armor, which they've been drip feeding these last few weeks, and right now I guess they ran out or they just placed some overpriced emotes nobody will purchase. But the thing is, Ben didn't mislead once, he did it actually twice. On Twitter a few days ago, someone asked when we could earn or acquire new armor sets in Anthem. His response, Elysian chests should be up next week, which for many that settled the concerns, and it looked like these chests would be worth everyone's time for some better and more unique customization. But unfortunately, this wasn't the truth, because on Discord yesterday, another BioWare developer, Chris Schmidt, said that Ben was mistaken and armor pieces or packs would not be included in the chests. This was something that has enraged the Anthem community because many see this not as a honest mistake but a lie. Today, Ben did offer a correction, saying on Twitter, "My bad here, I read the question as, when could we earn vanity in Anthem, as opposed to, when can we earn armor? There are no armor packs in the Elysian caches, but there are a lot of very cool vinyls, arrival animations, victory victory poses and emotes, more details coming. Again, the issue with this correction is that clear communication could have been made weeks ago, because there have been numerous threads on the Anthem subreddit asking if armor would be included in these chests, and as far as I've seen, BioWare has not communicated a yes or no answer until today. And I almost forgot this, but I wanted to point out a back and forth that happened on Twitter in which someone responded to Ben's original tweet, which was indication that armor would be in Elysian Chests. Obviously that was found not to be true later, as I discussed before, but a Twitter user recently responded saying he's misleading the community, which I mean it was misleading, and then a BioWare community lead says, was that necessary? In which this Twitter user throws some facts at him saying, well, the community who has been supporting and rooting for this game has many disappointments, including the lack of available armor, despite this being touted as a feature in marketing, showing numerous sets we cannot access. Many hoped they'd be in Elysian Chests, as it was implied, and he later points out various armor sets that aren't in the game but have been showed before. The Electronic Arts or BioWare employee did not respond to this, which I can't say I'm surprised. My belief is something changed, and I don't blame Ben at all for this, and I don't think he should be blamed. I say that because BioWare as a company probably is being directed by Electronic Arts to sell more cosmetics, which up to this point have not been selling. Armor is the main and only thing BioWare is going to get people to purchase, which is why unfortunately it makes sense for why armor pieces will not be included in these Elysian chests. Which, let me just say, I find it laughable how there isn't challenges or missions to gain specific armor, especially being there is such an emphasis on how your suit looks. But I guess that's all a part of the real mission to sell armor in the microtransaction store. Probably the same reason BioWare has been so careful with how much loot is given out, because when DLC content arrives, they want people to grind for items with the hopes that they buy some microtransactions. But let's actually dive into some of these numbers. Based on information coming from Super Data Research, Anthem in its launch month of February only made $3.5 million in microtransaction sales, which you have to believe Electronic Arts is not happy about that. But we've actually been getting more sales data which indicates that Anthem isn't doing terrible, but it's not doing great. Electronic Arts previously has said they expected Anthem to sell 5 to 6 million copies by the end of this month of March. Based on the numbers coming from Super Data Research, Anthem made $100 million in digital revenue at launch, which probably means the game sold worldwide 1.5 million copies digitally in February. For comparison's sake, a big game like Red Dead Redemption 2, which launched back in October of 2018, in just its first 3 days, it made over $700 million. Now additionally, the NPD group is reporting that Anthem was the best-selling game of February 2019, and it is now the second best-selling game of 2019. Anthem represents the second highest launch month sales ever recorded for a BioWare-developed game, trailing only the March 2012 release of Mass Effect 3, which that statistic isn't entirely accurate, as that is United States only, and Electronic Arts previously said in 2015 that Dragon Age Inquisition was the most successful launch for BioWare based on sales, and I'm assuming they were talking worldwide. So right now, these numbers have been thrown around by a lot of games media, and it really isn't clear how Anthem actually is doing. I've seen some other gaming YouTube channels comparing these numbers to Kingdom Hearts 3's sales numbers that actually came directly from Square Enix, the publisher, not game analysts like the NPD group, but these YouTube channels are not factoring that the NPD group is only reporting United States sales data for Anthem, not worldwide, so these comparisons are kind of pointless right now. But based on physical sales, we know that the game hasn't been doing good, and it actually looks like it bombed. But there's also a growing shift to digital, so for now, all we can do is wait for Electronic Arts to reveal how the game has done, and for those thinking they could just lie, well, that's against the law, as they are publicly traded as a company, and could get them sued by investors and or fined by the SEC. My assumption is that Anthem is doing okay in terms of sales. Will they meet EA's expectations? It's kind of hard to say, but I think it's important to understand a lot of casual players really just like the idea of flying around like Iron Man, and could care less about the game being a buggy, unfinished, mediocre, rushed out live service mess. But for now, BioWare has their work cut out for themselves, and it will be interesting if they can retain players until the big May update arrives. But even after that, there's a lot of competition right now from games like The Division 2, and as we continue through 2019, many more big releases will will arrive and potentially take from Anthem's player base. I can only wonder if there is pressure on BioWare from Electronic Arts to get the Anthem microtransaction vanity store rolling. Anyway, we discussed a couple of Anthem related subjects and news today. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value. Make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down in the description below. I'm most active on Twitter giving opinions on news that I don't always get into video form, so make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games, and again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.